Experience the Edge with Sybil. This music segment is being brought to you by Experience the Edge, and I'm your host, Sybil, here on WDRB Media. Tune in every week during this same time. Listen live 24/7 on the TuneIn Radio app, Streama, Apple Music, or at WDRBmedia.com and click on the Listen Live logos. We are WDRB Media, the voice of the community. You're listening to Experience the Edge with Sybil. Earlier today, I was trying to decide what to talk about because everything I do is in honor of God, of making sure that I am a kingdom builder. And then I had a God wink. Now, I got this phrase God wink from one of my church sisters. And she said it's simply God reminding you or nudging you towards the direction that he wants you to go in a direction you've prayed for. So today, my God wink was this. I was preparing to meet with someone and they asked this question of themselves. Is it God or is it me? And in that moment, I was like, oh, God wink. God wants me to start my show today with that question for somebody out there. Is the work you are doing based off what God told you to do or what you wanted to do? So many times people ask me why I changed the name of my business, why I rebranded, why I pivoted. And the simple answer was because God told me to. And so often the secular industry, mainstream coaches, business professionals who think they know what it takes to run a faith-based business balked at it. They didn't believe me. They asked me why I would do that when I was already achieving such success with my old brand. And I said, because God told me to. And as you start your journey today, as you think about what you're going to do next in business and in life, the tools you need, the resources you'll need, the people you must be able to surround yourself with, and how he wants you to serve, how you are called to serve. That is the ultimate litmus test. Is what I am doing God or is it me? And if you can't 100% firmly stand on it is God, then I challenge you to think differently about how you're running your business. It's so easy to get caught up in mainstream solutions when we need to be seeking God as the ultimate caregiver and provider of all of our needs. If we really believe that his supply comes before our need, then all we should do is say, God, how can I serve today? Who do you want me to show up for? And where am I needed most? So this message is for all of my kingdom builders, my faith-filled followers, my women in business, my men in business who understand that how you do business says more about who you are and who you serve and how you are going to respond to when God is trying to put you in position. He cannot put us in position if we don't check in with him. I weekly have a standing meeting with God because he is the CEO and my role, my function is as the chief steward. Anything else is putting my desires above his, and that is not how you run a faith-based business. It does not matter if you're serving in the secular world or the spiritual world. The rules are the same. Matthew 6:33, seek God first. All right. I hope you all enjoyed this message. Stay tuned because we are going to get started right after this. Thank you for listening to Experience the Edge with Sybil on WDRB Media. You're listening to Experience the Edge with Sybil on WDRB Media. Here's Sybil with your Brand Edge tip of the week. Hey listeners, tired of figuring out whether or not you should update your brand? Let's be clear. Updating your brand does not always mean a full overhaul. Here are 3 things you can do to gently shift without the overwhelm. Number 1, swap out old language for new words that reflect where you're headed, not where you started. Number 2, update your visual tone. Just one core element like a background color or a font pairing. And number 3, refresh your client touch points. It matters more than you think to send a small gift or do a different welcome email. Small changes equal big impact. The key is to stay consistent and to be top of mind. We will be back after this. Experience the Edge. This music segment is being brought to you by Experience the Edge radio show, hosted by yours truly, Sybil, on Apple Music and WDRB Media. Be sure to download the Apple Music and TuneIn Radio app. Search WDRB and listen live 24/7 for double the information and inspiration. You're listening to Experience the Edge with Sybil. Welcome back. Let's dive into our brand edge topic, which is building beyond brick and mortar. Today, I want to talk about what it's like to build your business beyond brick and mortar, because let's be real. If 2020 and the COVID experience taught us nothing else, it's that your business can't just live in a storefront. And I watched so many businesses close. I'm sure you did too, because businesses were not able to pivot fast enough into an online format. And so often we think about our business simply as a brick and mortar, which means we're missing opportunities to tap into new clientele and new market in really smart ways without adding to our business bottom line. One thing I like to tell my clients is we serve a God of multiplication. So if it feels additive, you're not doing the right thing. You're not adding the right component. Anytime you add a stream of income or a new opportunity or something into your business, you need to ask yourself, is this multiplication or am I adding to my workload? If it feels like it's heavier, then it probably is. So let's dive in. You've built something beautiful. Maybe you've got a boutique or a spa. Maybe you're a dancer like one of my clients. Maybe you've got a gallery or a studio. But what happens when foot traffic slows down? What happens when your rent rises and you have to move? Or when something like the COVID pandemic happens that is totally outside of your control, that shifts how you have to run your business? How quickly can you pivot? So this is why I focus so much for all of my women in business on building brands and not just businesses. Your brand can go wherever you go. Your brand can scale in ways a brick and mortar can't. Your brand can live in more one place at a time, and that's what your brand edge is all about. You can multiply your brand without burning out. So let's talk about this, because I speak with so many women who are like, oh yeah, side hustle is holy and all of that. I want to say that building a brand is about stewarding your message, about serving in purpose, and about profiting from it. Now, I'm not here to preach on why profitability matters. That's a whole nother topic and sermon. But I know a lot of us are church hurt from thinking that if we have really good income and sustainable incomes, that it somehow makes us a little less Christian. Well, that's just not true. But again, that's for another place and time. But the deal is, when your brand is tied to a physical location, you will always be limited. And we have a global opportunity to take over market share in new ways by offering the same thing in different places in different times, and by people who not only want to find us, but need to find us. This is where you can start moving from local to building a legacy you are dreaming of. And that's where building a sustainable brand comes in. You can't serve well if you're scraping to survive, if you're worried about inflation, if you're worried about how the market is moving or who's in the White House. You can't scale with clarity if you're stuck doing day-to-day operations when you should be working on how your business moves. So let me give you the 8 ways that I tell all of my clients to expand their brand beyond the business walls. I actually partnered with a dancer, a former dancer who is now a dance instructor. And this is the same framework that I use for her, and it works time and time again. Number 1, can you digitize something that's within your brick and mortar? Let's just say you have a candle shop. Can you digitize your candle making process and turn it into a workbook or a guide or a digital download? Can you mail your candle experience to your ideal clients and then tell them how to pour their own candles by themselves. I actually have a candle client and we did something very similar. Think about what people always ask you for and the intel they need just from you and figure out a way to package it. Number 2, learn how to turn your brick and mortar concept into a course or a workshop. Again, you can serve one or you can teach many. A lot of what I talk about is in the Bible, right? King Solomon was number 1, a teacher. And if you read through the scripture, it talks about all of the areas that he knew about. He knew about fish and plants and animals. He knew about botany. He knew about astrology. So think, how can I serve more than one person at the same time doing a one-to-many concept? Maybe through online, maybe in person, through workshops, maybe through something that feels a little bit more bespoke, like a custom built workshop for future candle makers, let's just say, right? At some point, the teacher will want to train teachers. So don't think about it as I'm training my competition. Think I am training people who are going to run their business totally different than mine. This is where a lot of coaches and consultants get started in business. They figured out how to do something and they're showing other people how to enter their industry more intelligently. Number 3, are you booking speaking engagements? Now, you all know I am a paid professional international keynote speaker, and I realize the value of my voice, and it is so valuable. Are you pitching yourself to industry conferences that you would formally attend? Are you making sure to go on podcasts or serving on panels so that people understand the value of your brand and you can monetize your voice? There is a 6-figure business line based solely on your expertise, and you don't have to sell any of the things. Another thing you can do is look for affiliate partnerships. Now, you all know I talk about the strength of a brand, but what's better than one brand is one brand being supported by another brand. If you can figure out how to find affiliate partnerships where you're literally earning residual income off of someone else selling your products, goods, or services, then you have hit the jackpot. Not only are you cross-promoting your brand with somebody else's brand, but you're entering their market without doing the heavy lift. The next thing you want to think about is merchandise. I will take it back to my dancer client, right? So not only is she a dancer and she's doing dance instructing and curriculum, but now she is able to sell merchandise with her tagline. And she has merchandise that talk about what it is to be a dancer that is specific to the dance industry. There's another lady that I partnered with that does makeup supplies, and now she has a makeup t-shirt line that actually sells almost better than her makeup products. So don't just create merch just for merch's sake, but think, is this a product, good, or service my clients will already need? And is it the next best logical step after they buy this thing that they were going to purchase anyway? The next thing you want to do is think about licensing and templates. Do you have frameworks or systems other people within your industry could license? Sell them that structure. Have you figured out whether or not you can white label your goods and services underneath somebody else's brand? Again, thinking about the lady that I work with for her candle company, when she runs out of candles, she finds another sustainable purveyor and she gets their candles and she puts her label on there because they use almost the exact same supplier. She puts her secret sauce, her recipe inside the scent, and then she sells it. They get a piece of the profit. She takes the rest. And then the last thing is probably the most important. Can you create a community or a membership around your brick and mortar? When people trust you, they want access to you, your thought processes, your content, and they want a space for ongoing connection. Can you, let's just say you are in the chewing gum industry, can you figure out how to get everybody chewing your gum and then have them create user-generated content to talk about why your chewing gum is so fabulous? Is there a chewing gum community out there for you? One of my clients is a food truck owner, and she has amassed over 80,000 followers because she started talking about the highs and lows of building her food truck and helping them figure out how to build their food trucks the same way she did. So again, you don't need all 8, although it's biblical, because again, Ecclesiastes says you need to be building these 8 streams of income because you do not know what will fall upon the earth. You don't need all 8 right now. But what does it mean for you to get the next 1 or the next 2 under your belt, get those set up, and then have them feed each other? This is how you build your brand edge. This is what I call my ecosystem of excellence. And this is the way to build out your brand without adding anything else. This is about figuring out your one unifying concept and building everything underneath that umbrella. So as I wrap up, and you're thinking about all of these side hustles that probably could be together in one uniform experience, ask yourself, does this stream of income reinforce my core message or confuse it? Can I easily deliver this without adding to myself? And is there longevity, or is this a quick win to pass me over until I get to that next best thing? Also, I want to warn you, because if you are an entrepreneur like me, watch out for shiny object syndrome, okay? Just because somebody else is making money from doing that thing does not mean it's for you. Hope you all enjoyed this. Stay tuned because we will be right back after this commercial break. You're listening to Experience the Edge with Sybil. Welcome back. Let's talk about what it's like to have a well-dressed brand. Now, if you all have seen me in any of the streets, you know I love being fashion forward, but I also believe fashion can be sustainable. So today's question is, are you wearing plastic? Are you in love with Esther? Not the lady from the Bible. I'm talking about polyester. If so, let's stay tuned on how you can be fashion forward, in alignment with your brand, and sustainable while you step out and build the business of your dreams. Recently, I was watching a Netflix special called Fashion Reimagined. So if you care about what you wear, or even if you really don't, for all my guys out there who believe in having a couple staples, everyone should watch this documentary. It is the true story of a British designer, Amy Powney, and I hope I am pronouncing her name right, and what happens when she wins a major fashion award. What she decides to do with her money not only helps shape her brand, but the fashion industry at large. You see, instead of launching another collection to do what everyone else is doing, she chose to create a very rare collection, something that was going to be completely sustainable, where every single step that she took to design the brand would be ethical. Now, this originally seemed like a really small task, but when she started the process, she wanted to make sure every step, and when I say every step of the supply chain, was covered ethically and responsibly. She went to extreme odds. What she found, though, is we are not as close to our suppliers as we think we are, and there are a lot of hoops to jump through to understand how what we wear is tied to how it affects the environment and where our clothing is sourced from. She literally went so far as to go and talk to the sheep farmers in Uruguay and to where the sewing machines are in the European factory. Some questions that she asked, and I invite you to ask when you're thinking about your supplier, are who's making the clothes, what chemicals are involved, how far are the materials traveling so that I can service my clients, and can I build something that doesn't harm the planet, that is still profitable and beautiful. It really was harder than it sounds. But as business owners, every time we make a decision, that's a decision not only for our business and the future of our family, but also the future of the planet. And as you follow her journey, literally across several countries, and she's facing all sorts of industry barriers that are designed to keep sustainability down, she does not stop. Some things that she called out in this documentary that are worth noting are transparency in the factory, how dyes are created, how often our clothing is soaked, how sustainability claims don't have proof. And you all know one of my favorite lines is sustainability should not be a PR stunt. Well, she started challenging a lot of industry heavy hitters on that. She looked at the brands that claim to be eco-friendly, but they won't tell you exactly how it made. So again, this film isn't just about fashion, though it is. It also means when we are thinking about how we're building our businesses with conviction within a system that may or may not be designed for how we operate. So I ask you, when you think about your brand edge, how are you going above the fray? How are you interrupting and disrupting your industry norms to create something new? You see, Amy didn't set out to do anything other than to create something sustainable and fashionable and in alignment with her values. But what she ended up doing was changing her entire industry, and now she is recognized around the globe for it. And when we come back, I'm going to start jumping into one of the questions that I love to ask all of my fashion forward individuals. Are you wearing plastic? Stay tuned. I'll be back after this. Welcome back to Experience the Edge with Sybil. So before the break, I said, are we wearing plastic? And for the majority of us, yeah, we are, because we're in love with our friend Esther. And not the Esther from the Bible. I'm talking about polyester, the kind of ester that doesn't biodegrade, the kind of ester that is not good for our future. And as a self-proclaimed fashionista, because again, if you see me in these streets, I'm going to be looking my best and on brand. It's important that I model my values, and that includes where I get my clothing from, where I shop, and aligning my brand with the brands that align with my values. So ask yourself, are you more focused on showing up authentically or with something that is quote unquote on trend? And so often we want to look our best. We as business owners need to showcase what we do well, but that starts with what people see when they first meet us. And as much as I would love to get on the fashion hall trend, I just can't, because so many of those clothes are not sustainably made. There was even one article that I read that said that those clothings from these third-party vendors are produced so quickly that there have been traces of feces, inside some of the articles of clothing. Not to mention things that don't biodegrade, plastic, and so many other foreign objects that don't belong in or on our bodies. So what does this all mean, and what does it have to do with you and your business? Well, I want to suggest that sustainability is profitability. And I get it. Right now, we can get clothes for pennies on the dollar, but what that also means is we are taking income that could go to somebody. We are taking away somebody else's ideas, and a different company is profiting from it. I follow so many designers online who every single day are on YouTube or on their social media saying that their designs are being stolen. And this is one of the challenges when you are a fashion forward brand, when you're in the fashion industry. There's no way to really protect you or your ideas, because all these third parties have to do is literally move a button up 3 inches and all of a sudden it's their design idea. Now, you're a person in business. How do you feel when someone rips off your idea, when they steal your concept, when they rearrange your IP and try to make it their own? That's the exact same thing that these designers are going through. And it's our job as business owners to protect each other, not only for our brand and our brand concepts, but because we would want people to protect us when they experience the same. I remember somebody lovingly called out somebody else on social media when they realized that the person had stolen some concepts from another content creator. And it was all the buzz because so often we let things like that go by. So again, it's not just about the clothing, but it's about our brand ethical standards. Where are we willing to make sacrifices? Where are we willing to curb our values? And how are we going to make sure that we stand firm on what we believe in and protect the planet that we are supposed to be protecting? You know, the Bible says we have dominion over the earth. That means we're supposed to be guarding everything there within. So you probably want to be fashion forward, and I do too. So here are a couple of my shopping tips that I tell everyone. First things first, buy less and buy better. It is really that simple. As an 80s would go shopping. As an 80s kid, I remember when I would get excited about going shopping. You all remember the Sunday best. You go to the clothing store, the Macy's or what have you. You get your patent leather shoes. You buy 2 or 3 high quality dresses, and you literally wore those until you outgrew them. We need to adopt that type of mindset again. We don't need more clothes. We just need the right clothes. Think about it. That $20 shirt that you got from your haul, is it going to shrink in a week? Does it have permanent stains that you can't get rid of? Stretching so much that you can only wear it once and you have no choice but to throw it away? Instead of saying, can I afford this? Can I afford to not do something different so that a year from now, I still want to wear this article of clothing? The second thing that I tell every single fashionista in my community, and now I'm telling you, is start reading your labels. You might be wearing plastic and not even know it. Acrylic, nylon, polyester, all of those are plastic. So even though you might look stylish, your skin's not breathing. It's not biodegradable. And ultimately that outfit is not built to last. Instead, look for real materials like cotton or linen or hemp. Now, I'm not saying every piece has to be perfect because I still have some things that may or may not be made from animal byproducts and skins, but I also didn't buy them, side note. But what I am saying is know what you're wearing and why, because what you wear is an extension of your brand. And then the third thing that I want to say is thrift with strategy. I know so often thrifting gets a bad rap, but you can find me in the gently used but not abused secondhand, upcycled, recycled clothing store. Sustainability does not mean spending thousands of dollars on one garment. It might mean going thrifting on the right side of town, y'all know what I'm talking about, with a plan and grabbing some high quality pieces that look like they are brand new. And y'all, let's be real. Who can admit that we have taken things to the thrift store or the secondhand store with the tag still on them? So once again, when you shop with those 3 strategies, you can be fashion forward, you can look like new, you can be runway ready, and you can save the planet. Any ideas that you can bring to the table on how to bring your brand to life? Do you have any ideas on how to bring your brand to life through fashion? If so, let me know. I would love to hear from you. Reach out to me on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram at Sybil S. Stewart. That's at SYBILSSTEWART. I would love to hear from you. Stay tuned and we'll be right back after this.
I'm gonna make a change for once in my life. It's gonna feel real good. Gonna make a difference. Gonna make it right. As I turn up the collar on my favorite winter coat, this wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the street with not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their need? A son's disregard, a broken bottle top.
Welcome back to Experience the Edge with Sybil. I am Sybil, and we are going to dive into why I just spent $5.99 on a notebook. Yep, you heard me right, $5.99 plus tax on a notebook. That's my testimony. That's my story. But more importantly, here's why I did it. Because It was made with 100% recycled paper. It was printed locally and packaged without plastic. Now, I get it. We all are not in a position to spend $5.99 on a notebook, but it's one of those small decisions that I truly believe make a big difference. It was about the decision to align my money with my mission and to support a business that is interested in doing things right. And as much as I'd like to say that sustainability is that thing that everybody should do, and I do say it, I know not everybody cares about sustainability the way I do. But here's how small businesses can support sustainability without making it an overall in how you do things. A lot of small businesses think that sustainability still feels optional. And they think, well, I don't sell products or I don't have to think about sustainability. Well, let me tell you, you should. This isn't just about recycling or upcycling. It's about how you lead and about how you are building your value-based brand and business. When I first set out to do my business, I said, I want to serve people and I don't want to kill the planet. Like that was literally my baseline. And then I was like, God is going to help me figure out everything else. But what I've learned over the course of these last few years is that sustainable businesses actually perform better. Okay? For the people in the back, I said it. Sustainable businesses make more money. And there are numerous reports to show that small businesses, or big businesses for that matter, with strong sustainability practices can increase profits by up to 60%. What I'm trying to say is there are a lot of Sybils out here willing to pay $5.99 plus tax if you are proven to have an eco-friendly, sustainable brand or product, or if you can show in your supply process that this is something you care about. So with you, fellow founder, know that your customers will pay more for your products and services, not only because they trust you, but because your values align with theirs. So you see, sustainability is not just a nice to have, it's actually your business advantage, or it could be. So let's get rid of the myth that you need a zero waste lifestyle, or you've got to go 100% solar, or you've got to recycle your rainwater to be green. You do not need a full overhaul. We just need to do what I call 1% better. And so here are 5 low lift, high impact ways to bring sustainability into your small business starting now. And number 1, for my paper lovers, even though I just said I bought a notebook, I am a paper lover. Do you all see? I'm trying to do 1% better. And the minute somebody digitizes the notebook, like the feel of it, then I won't have to buy the recycled notebook. Till then, that's what I'm going to do. But number 1, go digital wherever you can. If you are still printing invoices or handouts or mailing PDFs, think about going with e-signatures. I know so many business owners who are afraid to go paperless for their major projects. Not the, oh, I need to take notes, but they are literally still snail mailing. Or y'all remember the brown envelopes, the inner office mail? There are still people using those in 2025. Let's think about going digital wherever we can. That is a small change that will make a huge difference. And every time we go digital, that actually cut costs on human error. Okay? Number 2, buy secondhand or think differently about the gear that you use. So before you shop a brand new desk or get that brand new camera set up, check out your local resale or refurbished options. Not only will you save money, but you will keep a lot of useful products out of landfills. I shop a local computer shop to this day because they do refurbished computer sales. Not only do they do that, but they also have computer parts for my dinosaur laptop that I am still using. Okay? I am a minimalist that believes in being trendy. So y'all work with me. Okay? Y'all work with me on this. But I'm going to use this computer literally until it stops powering up. I still have the first gen iPad is all I'm saying. And the only reason I'm not using it now is because Apple will no longer push me any updates. But I digress. Number 3, outsource locally wherever you can. And this is something that I practice a lot. Work with your local creatives. Keep your contractors and contracts close. The more we shop local and think local, that means less shipping fees, more community support, and more money circulating back into our local economy. That means a stronger network that's sustainable not only for your business and your brand, but also for the planet. Okay? Keeping wealth circulating is never a bad idea. The next thing you can do is batch your shipping when you can. If you ship it, batch it. Okay? How many Amazon trips can we stop if we think, okay, these are all the supplies that we need, and here's how we're going to batch ship out to our prospective clients? A lot of carriers will also offer you discounts if you tell them you're going to batch ship your options and your items. When I first wrote my book, I did this. I figured out the cost per book to batch ship, and then I found the best option and the best supplier, and then made sure that it also checked as many of my sustainability boxes as possible without costing me profitability. And then the last thing you can do is vet your vendors. One thing that I like to ask anytime I form partnerships, regardless of it's a supplier or a brand thinking about partnering with me or somebody who I'm considering, I start asking, so where'd you get this material from? I'm start looking at their labels. Y'all don't go with me to the grocery store or clothing shopping. I am flipping these garments inside out, trying to figure out if it says 100% cotton. I'm up here making sure that I can read everything in the grocery store, that it's sustainably packaged, and it's got the little green leaf. Okay? I take longer looking at labels than I do actually getting my items, because we need to make sure. I need to make sure. Number 2, are your products ethically made? And if so, how can they be? Are the vendors that you're getting your supplies from really above board? Are you checking their receipts to make sure that they are getting you what you need and it's sustainable and it's not costing you extra? I think it's time that we shift our lens from sustainability to being just environmental, right? It's emotional. It's spiritual, it's operational, it's relational. And I don't want you to exhaust yourself, nor do I intend to exhaust myself going sustainable. But the question is, can you do 1% better? Can you find that one thing in your brand or business that would benefit you and the planet by you being a little bit more sustainable? And if you're building a faith-based brand like I am, if you're purpose and value driven, people should be able to see that. That means doing things like this. And maybe it's not the exact things that I'm doing. I could have a laundry list of all of the ways we could all be sustainable. But it shouldn't feel chaotic. It should be in alignment with who you are and how you work and how you serve. Okay? So ask yourself, what am I throwing away? Can it be recycled? Do I have recycle options? Do I understand that this is all a part of me building my brand integrity? So no, I did not need the $5.99 book. Again, y'all pray for me. I grew up in the old school where you still pulled out pen and paper. So I'm working on it. But I chose it because it matches my brand ethics and values. I do what I say even when no one's watching. I started small. I started where I was because I know that everything matters. And as a business owner, every time I spend $1, it is $1 for the type of world that I want to live in. That's sustainability in action, and that's my brand edge. What's yours?
You're broken down and tired of living life on the merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Move mountains, we gon' walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise like the day. I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, I like the waves. I'll rise up in spite.
You're listening to Experience the Edge with Sybil. Welcome back. If you are just joining me, you are here with a perfect timing. Today, I want to talk about what it's like being a stage builder. And a lot of people are like, what is a stage builder and why should I care? Well, here's why I chose to build stages instead of just standing on it. You see, stage building isn't about how many stages I can be on, but about how many stages I can build for other people. And one of the questions I get asked a lot is, if you're a speaker, why would you choose to be a TEDx host and not the one on stage? Let me be clear. My voice is being heard on a lot of stages, but I thought it was more important for me to start owning the stages that other people need to be on. You see, the thing of it is, when we think about being on stage, there's a lot of competition. We think, how am I going to get on the coveted stages? And there are so many people trying to get on the exact same stages because they think that's the only path to visibility. And when I realized it was not just my job, but my calling and my mission to not only speak, but also steward other people onto the stage, I realized I had to start building stages. What I've come to realize is there are a lot of speakers who enjoy being seen. There are a lot of speakers who enjoy being on stage because they think that's the only path to visibility. I want to suggest to you today that when you own the stage, you have the opportunity to curate the stages in ways that are not currently being curated for people like you. When I realized that being a paid professional speaker meant being one of about 30% of women who were getting paid and only about 1 in 12% who were getting paid as women of color, I realized that's because we are not the ones building the stages. And so the mission was clear. So if you think you are called to not only speak but build a stage, here's what this could look like for you. And this is what it's looked like for me. It means setting the tone for who gets to be on stage and how the stage is going to be built. For example, this radio show is a stage that I have been chosen to build. And as a result, I get to bring other people on that align with my brand and my values so that they can get visibility while I continue to build my platform. Stage building also means you get to decide who might be able to rise next. And this is not the lift while you climb moniker that we have been taught by so many people and by the world. But it's about saying, once I have gotten to a specific place in my life and my platform, in my career, I'm going to go ahead and make it easier for somebody else's journey. Because ultimately, that's what being a stage builder is about. It's about saying the path was hard for me. How can I make it a little bit lighter for the people coming behind me? So often people don't want to build stages because ownership requires risk. But if you're in business, you've already taken a really big risk. You are serving other people underneath your own brand and framework. So why not add a stage to your process? Leadership and ownership are the ways to really set yourself apart from the competition. Think about all the stage builders that exist right now, and without them, people might not have a voice. And think, how can I do this? You see, I chose to be the host because I've been on stages, big ones around the world, around the US, and I realize hosting a room versus being on someone else's stage in their room gives me the power to elevate the voices that would not otherwise be heard. It helps give me the authority to shape culture in ways people might not be thinking about it, and not just be in the DMs or in the comment section reading to see who's going to respond next. And it really did give me the ability to not only multiply my brand, but many brands of other people who I would already support anyway. Being able to host and build my own stage lets me protect the integrity of not only my brand, but also the platforms that I am aligning with and the platforms that I build. That means I'm not having to chase the next stage because I'm getting to decide which stage I am going to build next. This is why I tell people I'm a brand architect, because I am literally building the brand. I am architecting the structure for other people to stand on. And because of me, More founders and leaders and visionaries are going to have opportunities that I didn't have because I chose to set myself apart. So if you're thinking about building a stage, or you think you're called to do a little bit more than what you were already doing, and you're trying to figure out what that thing might be, it's time for you to build a stage. Here's how you know you're supposed to build a stage and not just stand on them. Number one, are you more excited by what's possible for other people than just yourself? If so, you might be a great candidate to build the stage. Do you think about stage building as not just a single event, but an opportunity to build forward some legacy, to add it as a part of an ecosystem that already exists? Are you someone who sees what's missing in your industry and you've already figured out how to design something better? Or maybe you are tired of speaking on the exact same stages as your competition and you need to separate yourself from others. When I first decided to be a stage builder and not necessarily talk on as many stages, I was told I was power hungry and I just wanted to be seen and all of these other things that were simply not true. It's not about being power hungry. It's about ownership. And if I believe that God gave me dominion and the power and the authority of the Lord rests in me, well, then it is not only my responsibility, but it is my duty to go forth and go ahead of the people who are relying on me to show up in ways other people haven't showed up them before. All right. I hope you all enjoyed this. Stay tuned because coming up next, Ask Sybil. If you're interested in asking me a question that you want me to answer live on air, feel free to slide into my DMs on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I am at Sybil S. Stewart. That's SYBIL STEWART, and I will gladly answer your toughest branding questions, questions about what it's like being a stage builder, building on TEDx stages, how to get on other people's stages, and so much more. Looking forward to hearing from you, and we will be right back.
After all you put me through, you think I despise you, but in the end, I want to thank you, cause you made me that much stronger. When I thought I knew you,
Welcome back to Experience the Edge with Sybil. If you're just joining me, welcome. This is the Ask Sybil section of today's episode. This is where I take your burning questions about what it's like to run a faith-based business, how to be fashion forward while still on brand, your burning brand questions, and so much more. Today's question came from a client of mine, and her question was, Sybil, what is visibility? What does it mean to you? And how do you know if you are unapologetic? I want to say thank you to my client for submitting this question to me today. So first, what is visibility? Ladies, particularly us who are introverts, visibility can feel like a big word, a scary word, I don't know what to do first word. And I want to take the edge off of visibility for us. I want to remind each and every one of us that visibility should never be at the cost of who you are and what you stand for and what you value in life. So if it feels like it is outside of what you would do anyway, you are not doing visibility appropriately. So I just want to start there. For all of the visibility coaches, you all can fight me on this, but I would never tell somebody to brand their visibility with something that's going to make them uncomfortable. Okay? So what is visibility? It is your way of showing people who you are, teaching them what to say about you, and helping them to recall very specific things about who you are, how you serve, what you do, and how you help. That is what visibility is all about. And when you check all of those boxes, visibility starts to be a little less scary and a little bit more intentional. So when I think about branding for visibility, I think about all of the ways you can show up in places where people need to know your name. Not only do they need to know your name, but you need to start knowing their names. And when I say their names, their client avatars. What do they need to know about you and why? One of the things that people think visibility is I'm just going to go share my story. I'm just going to tell people all about my life. And I'm just going to do the pray and spray method. That is not visibility. And that's really poor branding and really mediocre marketing. Visibility is about sticking to the one thing that you do well and telling as many people as possible in as many forms as possible who you are, what you do, and how you serve. So in practice, this looks like building stages, of course, which is what I talk about, being a stage builder. This looks like presenting on other people's podcasts or radio stations or talk shows, again, showing your face in places and spaces where your ideal consumers and audiences already are. This looks like writing a book. This looks like hosting an event. This looks like building a community. There are so many aspects of visibility that we overlook that are already innate to how we are going to show up and serve anyway. So the real question is, how are you already doing visibility and how can you do more of it? For me, I am a paid professional speaker. So visibility for me looks like getting on as many stages as possible. What is a stage? A stage could be a keynote. It could be a training. It could be a workshop. It's you all listening to me today on my radio station and subscribing. It looks like you tuning into my YouTube channel where I do interviews with other ladies. It looks like me going on podcasts because my type of visibility is I need to be known as a speaker. My visibility tactics are going to all be around speaking. Not everybody has to be a speaker. I worked with a lady recently who said speaking makes her stomach turn. And so I said, well, how can we turn your intellectual property, your IP, and your expertise into a visibility project? And she said, well, I love writing. And I said, well, start a newsletter, write a book, figure out how to co-author something. So visibility at its core is about you messaging who you are, but also paying attention to how you are using your visibility vehicle. It would be silly of me to say I'm a speaker and then I'm never on a stage. That is a misalignment between who I am saying I am and how I am going about my visibility process. It would be ridiculous for me to say I am an author, but I never wrote a book. I never wrote a newsletter. I never co-authored anything. I don't have, something in print, a newspaper, whatever that case may be, that highlights the fact that I am an author and this is the vehicle that I am using to be visible. So that was part one. Here's what visibility looks like. It looks like you showing up in the ways you're already showing up, but being a little bit more intentional about it. Really putting a game plan to how you are showing up and who needs to see you. And that's really the second part. It's great to be visible, but it's more important to be seen by the people who need to see you. I don't show up in certain places because those are not my people. It would make no sense for me to be visible to audiences that I am not serving today. For example, I have no business showing up at theme parks because those are not my target audience, for example. So it's really about asking yourself, where are my people and how can I get in front of them? And how can I advertise and market who I am and what I am doing and help them understand why I matter? And again, it's not about sharing your story. It's about helping them understand that your story is also theirs. When you find that common bond, that commonality, and the more commonalities you have, the better, the more visibility becomes authentic to you and easier to do. I take a lot of women's stages. I have done keynotes across the United States on women's empowerment stages because my primary audience that I serve are women. It would not make sense for me to then go and talk to the science people when I don't have a background in science or I'm not in the medical field, right? That's a stage misalignment. And so while I might have been visible, it's not really helpful for my brand. So that's visibility in a nutshell, as quickly as I can. And then the second part of the question, how do I stay authentic and unapologetic? And what I want to say today on that is only you know how much you want to share. Visibility should never cost you your privacy. I'm going to say that again. So many people think visibility is sharing and oversharing. And what that results in is trauma bonding. That results in being re-triggered, not only for you, but also the audience. That looks like you doing too much and overwhelming people who really do want to connect with you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. We'll be right back. I'm going to wrap up. If you've got any questions to ask me, I would love to take them. Email me, Stewart at thesagestewart.com. That's Stewart at thesagestewart.com. I would love to answer your questions on the air. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. At the top of the show, I mentioned how God winks at me. And so often I talk to people who say, oh, I never hear from God. And for those of us who hear audibly from God, it might look different. You might have visions. You might get impressions. You might catch a thought. All of those are ways God speaks to us. I was recently in a conversation with another faithful follower of Christ. And he and I were talking about someone who visits his church regularly who is without a home. And right at that same time, I was sitting at a crosswalk at a stoplight, and there was a homeless person. And my friend was recounting to me how he was teaching his son why it is important to serve the least of these. You see, he had just bought his son his favorite soda and chips combination. And in that moment, he said, hey, son, hand me the can. This person needs something to drink more than you. It's hot outside. You keep your snack, but it's really hot. And his son said, well, why, Dad? And he said, because you can get something to drink when you get home. This person who we have seen at church thousands of times does not have one. This might be his only drink today. And I thought about that as I continue to doing the work that I do. And as you think about the work that you do, to think this might be your person's, your ideal client's only chance at getting the solution that they need. You might be that refreshing moment that they have been waiting for. The question you've got to ask yourself is, can I put me aside long enough to serve? And as I sat at that stoplight and my friend was recounting that moment, I reached into the console in my car. I pulled out a few dollars, said a prayer for the person on the other side of my window, and hoped that they would be able to get something to eat or something to drink. As I close, I want to ask you, are you caring enough, and can you care a little bit more? Not a lot, a bit more. What I've realized doing this work is we can't serve everybody, but can we care a little bit more about one person, and then the next person, and then the next person? Can we all collectively care just a little bit more, 1% more, and maybe, just maybe, we can make the world what we desire for it to see. We can be someone else's solution, doing what we were already going to do anyway. Thank you all for listening. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you'll join me the same time next week. Don't forget to follow me on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, at Sybil S. Stewart. That's SYBILSSTEWART. Looking forward to hearing from you. Definitely drop me a DM, questions you would love to have answered online. Stay tuned for the next episode.